Have you ever asked yourself whether certain habits are still okay as you get older? Or wondered if something you're doing is silently affecting your health? Hubert, at 66 years old, did exactly that. It didn't come to him as a crisis, but in a quiet moment, standing at the kitchen sink, watching the sun catch the porch railing just right. He found himself thinking, is what I'm doing helping or slowly draining me? And it wasn't just one moment. This thought had been quietly circling his mind for months, maybe even years. What was going on with his body? What was normal for someone his age? Many men, especially those over 60, can relate to this inner questioning. The feeling of not having clear answers, not having anyone to talk to about these kinds of things. Hubert wasn't planning to bring this up with his friends at the golf course, or even with Linda, his wife of 42 years. It was a topic so private, so misunderstood, that he simply kept it to himself. Like many men, he had been taught to keep such matters private. Don't ask, don't tell. But as he aged, something was different. His energy levels were no longer as consistent as they used to be. Some mornings he'd wake up sharp and ready to face the day, but other times there was a strange fog that followed him until lunch. Was this just part of aging, or was it something else? He Googled it once. Is it okay for men over 60 to still have private moments? The answers were everywhere and nowhere. Some experts said it was essential for health, while others warned of hormone drops and energy depletion. Hubert felt more confused than ever and still alone with his question. The truth is, Hubert wasn't looking for a simple one-size-fits-all answer. What he needed was clarity. He wanted to understand what his body was telling him, to reconnect with this part of himself, not out of guilt or fear, but with wisdom and dignity. That's the journey we'll follow today. Hubert's story is about reclaiming confidence, vitality, and peace of mind. If you've ever quietly asked yourself the same questions, stay with me. This conversation may be more important than you think. The silent questions. Hubert never planned to bring up his feelings, especially not in the presence of others. Not at family dinners, not during Sunday walks with Linda, and not even during the quiet afternoons at the library where he read health books. Yet the question lingered. Am I still normal, or am I doing something wrong? It wasn't shame that kept him silent, it was the lack of guidance. He didn't know how to ask about something so intimate and personal. Every now and then, he'd see a headline online about testosterone or fatigue in older men. He'd click, skim through a few lines, and close it again. But it never quite felt right. The articles were too clinical, too detached from what he was actually feeling. What Hubert needed wasn't a lecture or a list of medical facts. It was understanding. Sometimes after a private moment, he'd notice something off. A little less energy, a little less clarity. It wasn't a constant thing, but it happened often enough to make him wonder if this was just a natural part of getting older, or if it was something he could control. Hubert didn't miss the intimacy of youth per se. What he missed was feeling connected to his own body, his choices, his rhythm. This is a quiet reality for many men like Hubert. They live with these questions for years, adjusting their habits without truly understanding why. Some go too far, others avoid the issue altogether, and all the while, they never learn to find balance. Hubert's turning point didn't come from fear, it came from curiosity. He asked himself, what if there's a healthier way to do this? One that supports my energy, clarity, and strength? And that, my friends, is exactly what we're about to explore. The hidden science. What happens inside a man's body? After release. Hubert had always viewed pleasure as something simple, natural, and private. But as he got older, he started noticing that the same actions didn't always produce the same results. Sometimes after a release, he felt grounded and relaxed. But other times, it left him drained, foggy, like his body had pulled the brakes without asking for his permission. So Hubert did something he hadn't done before. He stopped guessing and started learning. What he discovered was surprising. Every time a man experiences release, a complex cascade of chemical events takes place in the body. First, dopamine, the excitement molecule, floods the brain, giving that sense of anticipation and reward. But right after that, prolactin rises. Prolactin is the hormone that causes the heavy exhale, that sudden need for quiet. It also explains why Hubert sometimes felt sluggish the next day, especially if he hadn't allowed himself time to recover. Then there's testosterone, the silent engine behind vitality, drive, and confidence. While a single release doesn't destroy testosterone, frequent releases without proper recovery can slightly suppress it, especially in men over 60. That small dip, repeated over time, could explain Hubert's mild drop in motivation. But here's the good news. Moderate release, about 2 to 4 times a week for men his age, can actually help support prostate health by clearing out old fluids and maintaining circulation. The key is balance, finding a rhythm that's just right for his body. With this new understanding, Hubert began paying attention to his body's signals. He noticed that when he paired a session with deep breathing, stayed hydrated, and avoided late-night habits, his mind felt clearer, more awake. It no longer felt like he had done something wrong. It felt like he had honored his body's rhythm. Testosterone and timing, what science really says. Hubert had always thought of testosterone as something men lost with age, like hair or the ability to sleep through the night. But he didn't realize that timing and habits had a powerful influence on this hormone. One morning after feeling unusually sluggish, Hubert sat down with a medical journal summary he'd printed out the night before. Men's testosterone levels fluctuate throughout the day, it said, peaking in the early morning and dipping by evening. That line struck him. He realized that he had been engaging in self-pleasure late at night, not realizing that this could interfere with melatonin, the sleep hormone, and affect his next-day energy. What science shows is simple. Testosterone is still there for men over 60, but it's more sensitive. Overstimulating the body late at night or without recovery can upset the delicate balance. But if you time it right, like surfing with the tide, testosterone can thrive. Hubert made adjustments. He started shifting his sessions to late mornings, after his walk, when his blood was flowing and his mind was clear. The results were remarkable. Better sleep, more energy, and a clearer mind. He learned about recovery time, the refractory period, which is how long the body needs to recover hormonally after release. As men age, the body requires more time to bounce back, and pushing through without rest only leads to negative effects. Energy drain or energy gain. Hubert started noticing that his energy levels fluctuated depending on when he indulged. He had learned about the arousal motivation loop. Every time a man experiences arousal and release, dopamine spikes but then crashes. This energy dip can be especially pronounced for older men whose dopamine reserves are slower to restore. Hubert experimented. When he spaced out his sessions with intention, giving his body time to reset, his motivation came back stronger. His clarity, drive, and inspiration increased. It wasn't about denying himself pleasure, it was about pacing it. Blood flow and vitality. Hubert never used to think much about circulation. But as he grew older, he noticed his legs felt tense after short walks, and his hands were colder than usual. He realized that healthy circulation wasn't just about preventing health problems. It was about unlocking his energy and vitality. Blood flow supports nearly every function in the body, including strength, confidence, and mental clarity. A morning stretch, deep breathing, and warm lemon water became part of Hubert's routine. Within 2 weeks, he felt more grounded and steady, like a version of himself he hadn't seen in a while. His circulation was now something he actively cared about, because it was the foundation of his strength and clarity. Sleep and recovery. Hubert used to brush off sleep as optional, but as he aged, he realized that sleep was crucial to maintaining his energy and rhythm. Between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., the body restores testosterone and resets hormones. By shifting his bedtime earlier, he began waking up clearer and more energized. Emotional triggers and self-control. Hubert discovered that his habits weren't always about pleasure. They were about regulating emotions. When he felt disconnected or invisible, he would reach for familiar habits. But once he started tracking his emotional triggers, he gained control. Instead of acting out of discomfort, he started listening to his emotions, and his habits began to change. Finding your frequency. Hubert created a personal 3-day energy test, journaling his physical, mental, and emotional state after each session. Through this experiment, he found his ideal frequency, twice a week, midday, after a short walk. Conclusion. In conclusion, understanding the silent impact of masturbation on men's health after 60 is crucial for maintaining a healthy lifestyle. By keeping a balanced approach, being mindful of physical and mental health, and seeking appropriate help when necessary, older men can enjoy better well-being,